The anonymous op-ed piece from inside the Trump administration says, so we will do what we can to steer the administration in the right direction until, one way or another, it's over. And our panel's back with us. Jason Johnson, I was struck by that phrase, one way or another. The author of this piece seems to be absolutely fine with any way we get rid of Donald Trump, whether it be the 25th Amendment or impeachment or resignation or the Mueller investigation or defeat in re-election. That one way or another was very strong.
And what they're also sort of implying here, Lawrence, is they don't seem to have too much of a concern with how far this drags the country down until we get to that one way or another. Look, I think this is a cowardly letter in general. I think you can't dance with the devil and then claim you're an angel and virtue signal. So at the end of the day, while this person may anticipate doom, these sort of, shift into deck chairs on the Titanic, that's not patriotic. That's cowardice. And if you're doing this so that you can get tax cuts and you're occasionally saving America, that's not something to be proud of. So the gloom and doom that they predict is a gloom and doom they seem to be comfortable with America facing.
Jennifer Rubin, I always expected a raft of memoir proposals to publishers from Trump White House officials claiming that they saved the world while they were there, if there was still a world when they came out. And what I did not expect was that someone would do it from inside the administration in a New York Times op-ed piece in real time.
Yeah, I'm with Jason on this. I don't think this is particularly brave. And by the way, the person goes out of the way to make a very peculiar point, which is we didn't want to create a crisis by invoking the 25th Amendment. We have a crisis. It's a crisis when the elected president of the United States is not really running things, that we have a rolling or a soft coup by people who think they know better than the person the American people elected. Listen, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I think he's a nightmare. But this is not democracy. This is not how it's supposed to work. We do have legal processes for moving a president out, whether it is the 25th Amendment, whether it is impeachment, whether it is his party rising up and demanding his resignation. So I don't put too much stock in this person's fidelity to constitutional principle, and I am a little concerned that this is just a CYA in a very dramatic fashion.
The Washington Post is referring to, in its reporting tonight, what they're calling sleeper cells in the White House. They say the phrase, the sleeper cells have awoken, circulated on text messages among aides and outside allies. It's the horror movies when everyone realizes the call is coming from inside the House, said one former White House official in close contact with former co-workers. Ron Klain, the sleeper cells have awoken. This president is going to try to find out who this is. We know that. And so right. the question becomes, what's going on in the president's own attempt to do this? Will he pick up the phone? Will he call Dan Coates after watching this show? Will he call other people in the administration, his own suspects, and ask them directly?
Well, we know that he's raving mad tonight, and that's scary. But I'll say it's one more thing that does point to Dan Coates. The author would have to believe they have the tradecraft to write this, not have it be found out, and get it to the New York Times, not have their computer be searched, not have their email be searched. That, again, points to the Director of National Intelligence, who would have the so-called tradecraft to pull off this kind of a thing.
And Jason Johnson, the investigation, however this, I don't even know if that's the right word for it, within Trump world about this is obviously going to consume the president and who knows who else. We were wondering yesterday how long John Kelly has before he gets fired for calling the president an idiot in Bob Woodward's book. Tonight, the president is thinking that's the high ground for him. People calling him an idiot in Bob Woodward's book, that's nothing compared to this op-ed piece.
Oh, yes, Lawrence, this is not going to be an investigation. This will be an inquisition.
Yes, inquisition.
They will be dragging people all through the streets trying to find out what happened. And again, I think a key thing that we find out in this letter, again, is he's not complaining about the Muslim ban. He's not complaining about Charlottesville. He's not complaining about some of the egregious domestic things that this administration has done. He has primarily talked about national security, and that's where they're going to come in. And again, it's still cowardice. It's still saying, I worked at the Death Star, but I tried to aim it a little bit to the left. That's essentially what they're saying. saying, but that's where the president is going to focus his inquisition. Someone's probably going to get caught, and a lot of people are going to get fired after midterms.
And Jennifer Rubin, Donald Trump is a very cowardly man. He's demonstrated that throughout his life. And within the administration, the only person we've heard about him being willing to confront directly is Jeff Sessions, probably because he's physically small and probably because, as Donald Trump has revealed in the Woodward book and elsewhere, he thinks Jeff Sessions is stupid because he is a Southerner with a Southern accent who did not go to an Ivy League school. But Donald Trump confronting Dan Coats, or Donald Trump confronting Mike Pompeo, or anyone else in that administration is actually something hard to envision for such a cowardly man.
It's true. He actually doesn't even confront Jeff Sessions. He just tweets about him and rages about him to other people. He could fire him if he wanted. He is president of the United States, but he won't even do that. So I think that's right. I think he will send his minions out to forage around in desks and look at computers and look at phones and all the rest of it. Maybe they'll even roll out the lie detector tests. That would be fun. But I don't think that he is going to have the nerve to look someone like Dan Coats in the eye and say, you did it. I know you did it. I don't think that's his style.
And Rod Klain, you've been involved in trying to strategize congressional elections for Democrats. This is the kind of moment that is the nightmare moment for a party where everything you're trying to do gets completely distracted by the person who's supposed to be the figurehead of your campaigning.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're about to send President Trump out on the stump to campaign for Republicans, who is considered incompetent by his own administration, an idiot by his chief of staff, possibly removable from office. I mean, it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare of unprecedented proportions, and I think it's why Democrats are so enthusiastic about our possible wins this fall.
Ron Klain is going to get the last word in tonight's discussion. Ron Klain, Jason Johnson, Jennifer Rubin, thank you all for joining us in tonight's coverage. Really appreciate it. That is